Thank you for joining us. I hope that you get to learn a few things today. From the look of things, it's gonna be a few attendees joining in, so I'll add them as we go. But it's truly an honor to have you, Marcel, Lorraine. That's how I call you, Lorraine. And I'm really glad that we're able to do this today. So, for starters, I'm gonna read out your trading bio so that our trading community can be familiar with your work, and then we
Okay.
can dive right into the questions. So,
Okay.
Lorraine Marcel is a trailblazer in Africa's fintech revolution with over 6 years of dedicated experience in East Africa's tech ecosystem. As the visionary founder for Bitcoin Dada, she has become a prominent voice in advancing financial empowerment and inclusion, particularly for African women. Through Dada Devs, a technical arm of Bitcoin Dada, she leads transformative programs tailored for African women developers and software engineers, equipping them with skills to master Bitcoin and Lightning development. The initiative efforts offers hands-on training, mentorship, and opportunities for open source contributions, empowering participants to drive innovation and create impactful solutions in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Lorraine's work transcends beyond borders. She's a sought after international conference speaker. She highlights a critical role of financial empowerment addressing global inequalities. Her dynamic presence over a host of fintech events fosters collaboration and knowledge sharing among industry leaders and enthusiasts, bridging gaps and building networks that spark innovation. Under her leadership, Bitcoin Dada has expanded to 12 African countries in just 2 years, garnering recognition from prestigious platforms such as Forbes and CoinDesk. Her efforts earned her the title of Most Impactful African Bitcoiner in 2024. Beyond her work with Bitcoin Dada, Lorraine partners with universities and fintech companies to advance financial education and innovation across Africa. As a relentless advocate for underrepresented communities, Lorraine was also recognized as one of the most impactful African Bitcoiner for 2024, and she continues to inspire a new generation of African women to harness the power of Bitcoin and blockchain technology to transform their lives and communities. Lorraine, it's been a minute since we spoke, but that's a very impressive bio, especially now that you actually advanced from just Bitcoin Dada to Bitcoin to Dada Devs. Maybe you can
Mm.
tell us why you're so passionate about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin Dada came about. And we've been seeing you speak internationally. Recently, I think you were in Boston. All that growth is really impressive to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
For having me. Is it Sylvia?
You're muted. I don't know why the connection has dropped off for some minutes. Yeah, you're back.
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if it's on my end or okay. So I think that was on my end. Yeah. Anyway, so as I was saying, thank you again for having me on your platform. It's been a minute. Yeah, so much has happened since we last spoke. Success, wins, and also challenges. Building this kind of an initiative is not that easy. But back to your question. So, the question was why I started Bitcoin Dada and why I'm passionate about Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, the reason why I'm passionate about Bitcoin and advancing financial inclusion through Bitcoin Data is mainly because I have gone through the challenges that every African, not just females, every African goes through when it comes to trying to elevate themselves financially. And it becomes worse when you're a woman, right? So we do not realize that as women, there are certain privileges that we do not have. And probably if you live in the cities, or if you come from a middle class family or a high end family, you might not go through some of these challenges. So you might be sort of ignorant to what is happening. But because I went through, I was trying, at the time I got to learn about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, I was really trying to expand my business. So a background about me, I did finance in school and then took myself back to school again. I did events management. So at the time I was finding out about cryptocurrencies, I was running my own company called Loris Events, which is an events organization that consults for both corporate as well as social events. So I wanted to expand this particular business, but I could not get credit for it, right? And one of the reasons why I could not get credit for it is because I didn't have security in terms of land. And this is where I'm saying, like, sometimes we do not look at it as privilege to go to a bank and actually get credit because you're a man. You can take your father's property and put it down as security. As an African female, I don't have. Maybe some communities allow that, but as from me, from my community, I'm not allowed to just go to the bank and use my father's piece of land for a loan or something, right? So these were some of the challenges that I was facing, and I really wanted to get out of this, rat race of you're working extremely hard, but at the end of the day, you have nothing to show off, to
Mm.
show for, right? So I got into crypto at about 2017, 2018, if I can recall. And at that particular time, we had the bull run, and then we also had a lot of ICOs happening in Kenya. So there was a lot of excitement at that particular time. And of course, because I didn't have anyone to educate me, I was super excited and I was like, maybe this is it. Because from the little understanding that I had about cryptocurrencies, they were permissionless, they were decentralized, anyone can join in with whatever amount of money. And what they were selling back was glam, right? They were like selling, you'd become rich overnight. And I mean, who doesn't want to become rich overnight? And a lot of people are actually making money. So I thought to myself, maybe this is the secret. This is the secret from getting out of this situation that I'm in. So got into a lot of projects, tokens, lost money, but I won't lie, I also made money. For me, it was the uncertainty of the market. You're making money this year, this month, next month you have nothing. So it was sort of like gambling or betting for me. And I felt like this is not it. But at some point, I knew there has to be some truth in this blockchain space, right? Because I also did my own research. So I decided to take a step back and first learn. I took a step back and decided, let me learn first before moving forward or deciding whether this is for me or not for me. So unfortunately, COVID-19 happened and we were all locked in. Fortunately or unfortunately, let me just use those terms, because it was that period that I had the time to actually sit and do proper research and learn.
Mhm.
So I went because there was no events I could run at that particular time. So I used my time to learn about Bitcoin. I chose Bitcoin because I don't think anybody has the bandwidth to, read and research all cryptocurrencies that are there, right? So I decided because Bitcoin is the mother currency, let me first understand what that is, and then maybe I can expand. But before going to other cryptocurrencies, I think just going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, for me, it was, there's no point. Like, there's no point in expanding my knowledge in all these other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is for me. And why this is, it's because Bitcoin is the only currency that is completely decentralized. It's permissionless, it's borderless, right? So, meaning, and it's also open source, right? So I could basically use Bitcoin to solve my problems in whatever way that I deem fit, and no one would actually ask question me or try to control me. So that's how I got into Bitcoin. I started following people on Bitcoin Twitter. I started learning more and more from YouTube channels, podcasts, and all that. So how I got into Bitcoin Dada is I really wanted a community. I wanted to see someone who looked like me in this
Mhm.
ecosystem. But unfortunately, when Bitcoin or even cryptocurrency started, the majority of investors, traders, builders were white men. Those were the role models that we saw in the crypto space, right? So, of course, a few years after that, we saw Black men also getting in, but then there were very few African females who are confident enough to like show themselves, like to say that, hey, I'm in this space. So that sort of like really bugged me. It bugged me, and I was like, where are the women in this space? Because I learned that you don't have to be technical or extremely smart for you to be in this space. So where are the women, right? Where even the developers? Where are the lawyers, the females to represent us in this particular ecosystem? And I couldn't find any. Actually, I just like so two,
Mhm.
yeah, two African females, but it wasn't enough for me. That whole idea of not having a representation in the Bitcoin ecosystem really bugged me. So, I mean, it was either I had two options: to victimize myself and say like, oh, the Bitcoin ecosystem does not, welcome women, or there's no space for women, or do something about it. So I would say I'm very stubborn. I'm solution oriented as well. When I see a problem, I just want to fix it. Like my mind fixates on the problems and I would want to fix it. So I came up with the idea of creating a safe community where we could learn together. So even with my first cohort, I wasn't really like an expert, or I wouldn't call myself an expert now, but I would say I didn't have the same experience that I have now, or the same amount of knowledge that I have now. So for cohort one, it was more of learning together, right?
Mm.
So I decided I'm going to create a space where we can learn together without feeling intimidated, without feeling maybe afraid, without feeling I don't know, this is not a space for you as a woman. And just a space where we could also share our challenges and come up with solutions that, are aligned with us as Africans. So that's how Bitcoin Dada came about. I am passionate about women because I think compared to men, and this is not really that men are bad, it's more of the way we are wired. Women are wired to like think of everybody else outside of themselves, right? Even if you look at our homes, it will always be the woman who will sacrifice her salary an extra mile, will go an extra mile to maybe buy clothes for the kids. They will notice something beside the road and they will say like, my kid wants this. But a man is always make money and that's it. Invest, 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 that's it, period. Or even if they decide to educate themselves, they don't go out of their way to like say, okay, let me also educate my community, let me educate so and so. It is, I found this particular project, it's interesting, let me be the best at it, and it's okay. So I decided to focus on women because women will go an extra mile on not just helping themselves, but helping the people around them. And for me, if we really want to change Africa and stop being consumers, because that is what we are at this particular time, we are always the consumers, right? I Why not bring on board the gender that actually thinks outside the box, the gender that actually thinks more about their community rather than individuals. So, and
Yeah.
that is an impact. Sorry?
That
Yeah.
that
So,
is very
so
bold. That was very bold of you to just think of starting Bitcoin Data from as you were learning how to do it by yourself. So really, I think it's very commendable and big ups for that.
thank you.
Now, Bitcoin as a digital asset in this modern day, what would you tell people about speculation on Bitcoin? And because you have done it yourself and you're successful at it, do you recommend beginners to buy and hold Bitcoin, or do you advise them to? to go ahead and speculate on Bitcoin to make money?
I think it's very important for people to like take a step back and with everything that comes with, you need to be very cautious, right? Bitcoin, like any other investment, needs you to do your own research. The same way you will not wake up one day and just go buy a piece of land because Marcel bought a piece of land in Gong or whatever. You will make sure you first do your research on that particular property, right? It's the same way I would advise people instead of rushing to speculate on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, invest in knowledge. Take a step back, take 3 months, 4 months, whichever, 1 year, learn what exactly Bitcoin is, why it's important, and check your goals. What exactly do you want to achieve by investing in Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin also has this volatility aspect. And if you're thinking that you're going to make short-term profits out of this and become a millionaire overnight, then definitely you're going to lose and you're going to, regret your decision. So it's more of moving away from making decisions on an emotional level to being smart and making decisions from a logical standpoint and actually being informed. So information is key when you want to invest in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency out there. So definitely do not speculate on Bitcoin unless you really have an appetite for risk. If you have the money to waste, you can go ahead and do it. But if you're thinking of long-term wealth, if you're thinking of generational wealth, then take a back, educate yourself, and then get into the mix of it.
Okay, okay. And now today, in 2025, how do you see the role of Bitcoin in financial inclusion, especially in Africa, because that's where we're based, and in reaching the unbanked and underbanked populations, especially now that you mentioned women, and we have challenges in Africa ourselves in terms of uh, okay, maybe sometime way back, sometimes women were kind of like being segregated when it came to financial decisions. But how do you see the role of Bitcoin in enabling financial inclusion efforts for Africans?
So I would first like to correct that part where we say way back. It's not way back. It's just that we are privileged that we're in Kenya and we're actually in the modern city.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we might not feel it as, but when you step out of the city, then you get to understand the realities of the matters. So it's not way back. It still happens up today. And some countries, it's even worse, right? But let's get back to your question. So how does Bitcoin solve the issue of the unbanked and underbanked? So the reality of the matter is almost half of the population of Africa we don't have access to the traditional banking services, right? So that's the reality. So you can imagine out of those uh, billions of people, we don't have access. They don't have access to the simple financial services. So the truth of the matter is Bitcoin gives you access to such kind of things, right? It gives you access to sending value from one person to the other. So at this particular time, whoever has a phone, and the majority of people right now have phones, whether it's what do we call them? The banner phones, the kabambes, or it's the digital phones, anyone can actually send value because, and I know people are surprised, like, how can you send Bitcoin without the internet? There's an innovation called Machankura. For those who may not have heard about it allows you to send Bitcoin from one person to the next without necessarily needing the internet. So yeah, so that's an innovation that actually helps accelerate financial inclusion in Africa. So that's one thing. The other thing I would say is cross-border payments, right? So we have a lot of money that is being sent on a yearly basis or an annual basis. We have a lot of money that is being sent from the West to Africa in terms of remittances. And one of the challenges that people face is you've gone abroad, you have your people back at home, and probably your mother does not have access to a bank, or that whole process, it's either expensive, it's cumbersome, and just maybe even finding a bank around that village becomes a problem. So how does Bitcoin comes in and helps? So if, for example, I travel to the States and I need to send my dad money back at home. If he has a Machankura wallet, he doesn't even necessarily need to have the internet. I can definitely send him, I can send him the money through Bitcoin, and he can use it for his daily expenditure and everything. So that also helps when it comes to remittances. Now, back to the issue of women or the underprivileged as well. Like I say, a lot of people are ignorant about what is happening and the social injustices that happen to women, right? So you find in some areas where women are still not allowed to either own their own bank accounts. And even if they do, they're somehow controlled by either family or their partner, right? And if it's not something that it's a person controlling them, they have some sort of barrier. Either they did not complete school, so they don't have the right documentation to actually open a bank account, because you cannot just open a bank account without certain documents. So that also is a barrier to some people. Because you did not complete school, you are unable to get such kind of services. So you're not able to get lending facilities, you're not able to get insurance facilities, and that is a barrier for you. But then Bitcoin comes in and says, you don't have to have these documents for you to be able to get these services. What you just need is a phone, and you can be able to get these services at whatever level, whether you're educated or not educated, as long as you know how to press a phone, send and receive and accept, period. So those are some of the things that will actually accelerate or have been accelerating financial inclusion through Bitcoin in Africa. And we have a lot of innovations that have been built every day.
All right. And I guess also people need to maybe perhaps subscribe to your tutorials to be able to learn about this new developments in blockchain technology. Like you said about that wallet, for the layman person, it's very difficult for them to get such kind of information. So I highly encourage people, if you need to learn more about the digital asset, Bitcoin, especially being Bitcoin, that you sign up with Lorraine's initiatives. Now, you did mention about cross-border payments for people now from the US sending money to family back at home in terms of cross-border enabling method via Bitcoin. Maybe because I think we'll end this in like 10 minutes or so. Maybe you can also touch a little bit on the emerging developments that you see or the trends that you see in the African cryptocurrency space, particularly the ones that you find exciting.
Um, a couple of things that are exciting when it comes to Bitcoin development, both the technical side and the non-technical side, is the number of educational initiatives that have come up. We've seen programs such as Bitcoin Dada. We've seen programs that are actually creating Bitcoin circular economies around them. So a good example is BitBiashara. So BitBiashara, what essentially they do is they onboard businesses onto the Bitcoin standard. So this allows any business to receive Bitcoin. And actually this opens up this particular business to not just the locals from purchasing from them, but it gives them the opportunity to expand their market to other people as well. So that's actually quite interesting. We have AfriBit Kibera as well that's happening in Kibera. They've really done quite a lot, and they have impacted the lives of so many people. So those are in terms of the non-technical side. When it comes to innovation, I would say Machankura as an application that allows you to send value without the internet is a really interesting aspect for me. We also have Tando. So Tando allows you to spend your Bitcoin, right? Because one of the things that I know a lot of people ask, so if I have this Bitcoin, how am I going to spend it? how am I going to spend it? How am I going to change it to Kenya shilling? Because definitely you're not
Mhm.
going to pay your landlord in Bitcoin. You're not going to go to the supermarket with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So Tando allows you to spend your Bitcoin anywhere that they have M-Pesa facilities or services, right? So if you have a Safaricom number or an M-Pesa number, I can send you money. I can actually send you Bitcoin and you receive it in Kenya shillings through Tando, right? And it's actually it's completely free. The other exciting innovation is what we call Bitika. So Bitika allows you to buy Bitcoin from as low as 100 bob without really needing KYC. So KYC basically is all the documentations that you probably need to input your ID on, all those kind of things that you will be required to buy a bank or any other normal exchange that we have out there. So Bitika is also interesting. It takes just a few seconds and you've purchased your Bitcoin through M-Pesa to a different wallet. So I think those are the three key innovations that I can say are quite interesting and current at this particular time. And of course, every other day we see different innovations coming up in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So probably, and the way the ecosystem is growing rapidly, I can definitely say within the next 5-10 years, we'll have so much going on that we would not need to think about some of the barriers or challenges that we are facing right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Lorraine. At this point, from the attendees, I'd like to welcome the Q&A. If you guys have any questions for our guest, I can see we have attendees from both Lorraine and also myself. I can see also Mark from Traders KE. Any questions you may have to our guest, you may now ask. You just feel free to unmute yourself and ask. But I think as we conclude and as we wait for questions, Lorraine, you can tell us like what is your I know you have like a financial education through Bitcoin Dada and Dada Devs. What resources would you refer to people to get started on learning Bitcoin just from your own Bitcoin journey, as we conclude? Do you have like go-to sites, um,
Mm,
books that you may recommend for someone who's starting out learning Bitcoin?
okay. So I think the first three things that come to mind is a book, a podcast, and the Bitcoin white paper. So you want to read the Bitcoin white paper, it's free, it's online. It explains what Bitcoin is. It's the first document that was released by Satoshi.
Mm-hmm.
Thing you'd probably want to go through is it's a podcast called 99 Bitcoins. It's a learning platform and they explain Bitcoin in very simple terms. You can find this on YouTube. They've broken their sessions into like chewable chunks. So you get 10-minute sessions of what is Bitcoin mining, evolution of money in very small chunks. So you really don't have to it doesn't really overload you with information. So 99 Bitcoins, that's definitely a podcast that you might want to check out. The book that is written by Kisa Luna, uh, it's called The Simplest of Your Community. It's a very simple book that anyone can understand and it's easy to read. So it's 150 pages. So that should take you through your first financial foundational steps, getting into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then, of course, lastly, want to join communities that handle Bitcoin education, such as Bitcoin Dada, but you have to be female.
All right. Okay. So for guys who are interested in your classes, it's an exclusive female-led
Okay.
institution.
Did we lose Sylvia?
Can you hear me? Hello? All right. So I think with that, we've We're coming. I don't see any questions in the chat section. Sorry, guys, my internet got a bit tripped, but I think for now we've gotten enough information, at least on where to get started. And if people want to reach out to you for learning, they can get in touch through your website. Um, Maybe you can mention your website and how people can get in touch with you. I can see one question. Let me just see, confirm one question that I've seen on the chat section before we conclude. Hey, there were rumors about Binance. Okay, Binance is a platform where Bitcoin is able to be traded, right? So that question it wasn't a bit clear. So traders KE Mark Mirror. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much, Lorraine, for this session. We're gonna send the recording on our YouTube channel. We'll share it with you and tag you all over. And I guess this is a good, because we've never really had someone locally who can actually train people how to get started on Bitcoin. I highly recommend that you actually, Lorraine will give us the information on how you can get in touch with her institution. And she's also doing a lot of work in Dada devs as well. So maybe Lorraine, you can finalize with that and then we can wrap it up.
Okay, so you can follow us on Twitter. I've dropped the profile. The handle is BTC_Dada on Twitter. Instagram is the same. TikTok is the same. So whichever you are actually more active on, you can find us there. That's on Bitcoin Dada. And then for me personally, I think the easiest way that you can access me is through LinkedIn and also Twitter. So it's Marcel Lorraine on Twitter. On LinkedIn is Lorraine Marcel. And just to be clear, Bitcoin Dada is for African females, but our events are open to all genders. So anytime we have an event, feel free to come. We don't we are not biased on that, but for the educational sessions, I mean, the community itself is for the African females, but our events are open to all.